Hello Xbox News subscribers, we're here in Mexico City at Xbox News headquarters with Grupo Restaurantero Gigante and with SIMBA Chain. Could you please explain us what happened when sustainability is promoted by a blockchain process?
Yeah, so if you think about sustainability as a topic, if you ask anybody on the street, should we do sustainability? Should we help sustainability happen? Is this a good thing? They'll always answer yes. But it's very difficult to do in reality. And the reason is because as people, there's something that's called the prisoner's dilemma. And what happens is that I wait for everyone else to do the right thing, but I don't do the right thing, right? Because it benefits me if you do the right thing and pay the cost to do the right thing. I can benefit from that without ever having to do the right thing. The only way that changes is if you can validate or verify for each individual person or organization that they are in fact doing the right thing. Right now, that's hard to do, right? Well, it turns out that blockchain as a technology creates a way for us to actually validate, verify, check up on, authenticate, make sure that what you should be doing, you're actually doing, right? So it's not just about me as an organization saying, hey, I'm sustainable, I'm doing sustainable things. Blockchain actually allows you to prove it, right? Now you can go back and say, well, where did you buy this coffee? Where did you get this chocolate? Who produced it? Where did it go after it was produced? What processes were used? What people were involved? How much did they pay for it? Where did the money go? Now you can track all of those things, and it can be what we call trustless. In other words, you don't wait for someone else to verify it. The computer itself verifies it in a smart contract. That's pretty cool. That changes the game pretty dramatically.
How does SIMBA plays a role within the blockchain?
Well, so in just really simple terms, it turns out that doing stuff in the blockchain is hard, and SIMBA makes it really easy. We've created a platform in which anybody can build any application on almost any blockchain, simply, easily, in a secure environment, flexibly. All of these things make it so that you can do the things that you can reach the promise that blockchain offers.
How does SIMBA can make this real?
I really believe that it takes a partnership to do that. Look, SIMBA can build the tools all day long, but if you don't get a Gigante kind of company that's willing to implement that and use that, if you think about it, they're doing something that is not required of them, but in so doing actually puts pressure on other organizations to do the same thing. And so when you get somebody, right, like Gustavo and his team, willing to go out and make those kinds of changes because it's the right thing to do, and we help them validate and verify so that everyone can say, yes, you know what, it's not just words, they're not just saying this, they're doing it. Now you've got other organizations that consumers will then look to and say, well, wait a minute, Gigante's doing that, why aren't you doing that, right? SIMBA's provided a way to do it, Gigante's using it, together in a partnership's making it happen, why aren't you also doing it?
How the SIMBA was born?
Sure, yeah. I just arrived. Yorick, who's the director of CRC, asked me if I was interested, and at the time I didn't know anything about blockchain, but I said, sure, I'll give it a go. So I actually took that concept, the proposal. It was for DARPA, it was for secure messaging using blockchain. And I went on, I did several conferences over a summer in Europe. I was in like 6 different countries. I wrote a different section of the proposal in each country, so it was decentralized from the outset. And it was submitted, and it was successful. So we started looking at blockchain through that project, realized it was really hard to interface with, and we ended up coming with this idea, right? If we want to make a difference in the space, let's really simplify this and reduce kind of effort from weeks to minutes or hours.
And this is pretty cool, right? So what Ian often not gives himself enough credit for, I think, is that this blockchain has been around for a long time. But I think by initiatives like SIMBA and he and Joel started the company around is making this accessible for everyone, right? And that's the reason why we can be here today in Mexico. Yesterday being in the field with people that actually growing coffee, and even they can start basically tracking all the great work they do on a blockchain. But in sort of the traditional way and how it's done, that sort of gets lost, because if I'm not able to trace that all the way back from the farmer and ensure every step of the way that quality is ensured, then that becomes sort of meaningless, right? And what we are actually able to do is by putting this on a blockchain, which is basically a system of records, where every step in this supply chain is tracked and is visible to everyone who's part of the blockchain. We ensure that we know what the origin of the bean was all the way to when your consumer, on the other hand, drinks the coffee. And that's just a beautiful blockchain, right? So it's a system of record that cannot be hacked and can actually withstand the fraud of these steps in a way. And we found out some great ways actually to make sure that that bean that goes in the bag is actually the bean that all the way comes up at the coffee shop. Yeah.
So maybe I can add a few things to that. Yeah. So when Rob says system of record and Brian mentioned earlier trustless, what that kind of means in combination is that information that's stored on that record cannot be modified by anybody.
Okay.
It's not owned by any person, it's not controlled by any person, so that once that's written into the chain, it cannot be hacked, it cannot be changed, it cannot be modified. So what that means is what actually happened, right?
Okay.
It's not, nobody's altering the fact after. And then another aspect of the counterfeit, so the way we track the coffee comes in from the farms. So the cooperative actually weighs the coffee and it takes the humidity of the coffee. All of that information is written into the blockchain, non-changeable, right? And when that goes to the deshelling process, it comes back a different way and maybe a different humidity, right?
Okay.
We record that on chain. So now we're binding a non-changeable record with a QR code that's on the bag. So we're tracking that bag all the way through the supply chain with its physical characteristics. So in order to produce a counterfeit, you'd have to know how much it weighs, what the humidity of the beans are, all of the physical attributes to do that. It's impossible.
But again, to this point, if you think about any counterfeiting problem in the world right now, right? If you could understand as you go through this supply chain where things are, what changes, what those physical characteristics are, you change a lot of very important things, right?
One of the reasons why systems are not accurate is because they're too complicated.
Okay.
And I think rolling back to the SIMBA idea, SIMBA stands for Simplified Blockchain Applications, right? And the way we approached the blockchain tracking mechanism is we basically created an app that is on a tablet, and we made it really super simple to use with drop downs for every step of the way. So Jose at the cooperative, he was explaining, he was walking us through, and he said it's really simple to use. Yeah. I've got all of the parameters there. So that accuracy is kind of embedded into the simplicity of the platform. Yeah.
And then if you put that together again, this is so cool, but coming back to Rob's point, right? If these communities are able, after they've tracked the quality of their bean, to charge different prices, coming back to the sustainability issue, it changes their way of life, right? It changes the amount of money they can make. It changes the way they educate their children. It changes the way they live, their lifestyle, which creates a more sustainable environment for the country. There's just all of these benefits that come from this one opportunity to know what's going on.
And this is not just theory, right? So we got to see this in life and talk to those folks, right? So they now actually building out their community because people want to be there, they want to work there. There is work that's actually well paid. So years into the project that Gustavo has been working on, now with blockchain, what we actually is able to prove the monetary value of all the work he's been doing. It's amazing.
And it's so easy to understand for people that we don't have the computer science background. And they make it so simple that it was very easy to train the small producers that some of them hardly speak Spanish. So Jose, the coffee leader of this cooperative in the mountains of Tacana in Chiapas, in the border with Guatemala, he was the training guy for all the rest of the small producers. And it was so easy to understand. At the beginning, of course, they were a little bit afraid about the technology, but now it's so easy to them.
I mean, the encryption part, the encryption is to do with the signatures on the transactions. Okay. And what that means is every transaction that goes on the blockchain is digitally signed by the person who put it there. So in other words, the person at the cooperative that receives the beans, they're digitally signing that transaction, so you know exactly who put the transaction there.
He
who
or
was
she
involved
validates.
in the operation.
And with that validation, you know exactly that the producer is validating all the information that goes in the system. So from the beginning, it's validated.
So there's two views we're imagining. One is a customer view. So a person walks into a restaurant, a Toks restaurant, they buy a cup of coffee, they have an app on their phone, and they open the app, and the app knows where they are, and it tells them what the coffee is of the day. And they can click on that coffee, and where they can pull up information about the farm, they can see photos of the community, they can read about the community and understand, you know, what is their history, what are they doing. So that's one aspect of it, and integrated into that app, we might, you know, in the future, provide a mechanism for a customer to tip the farmer directly.
Okay.
So providing
like
direct sustainability.
like a donation
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the
Yeah, a
producer.
little crowdsourcing.
Oh, you're crowdsourcing. Oh,
Yeah.
that's another nice concept to
Yeah.
to develop with a blockchain system.
And the customer will know exactly the name of the producer and the family that gets it, and specific. So they're going to have a cappuccino or a latte or a regular coffee, and they will know exactly who produces, when, type of plant, quality, when it was transported, all the process to the cup.
It's now going to be impossible to hide for corporations. They're setting an example where everything is now visible, right? It's transparent. It's transparency. Sustainability and transparency have to go hand in hand. You can't have sustainability without transparency. So now, if I'm the consumer, I'm going to start to demand transparency. You can't just tell me, oh, I'm sustainable. Like, show me, prove it to me. Show me the steps, show me where it comes from, show me where it was used and produced and all those different things, right? So social justice now means that the people who are doing the work, who own the land, who have the plants, are going to be remunerated justly, right? They're going to get what they should get, not what they've been getting. And by the way, the world doesn't pay you what you deserve, right? It pays you what you have the power to extract. And in this case, you know, they've been powerless. These people in Chiapas are powerless, but you're giving them the power through the transparency. That's going to change the economic system. That's going to make sustainability for them and their families and their communities a real possibility.
What about the results at this very moment? We started 2 years ago. Now we are moving on. We implement the blockchain system. Some results so far?
We started with the harvest season that was in 2020, 2021. Now all this information is on the system. Then we're going to have on this next harvest season all the information 2021, 2022 harvest. So we are going to be able to compare qualities, productivity, and many other things related to the coffee plants. And after that, we are going to track how the producer is behaving in quality, quantity, and the days they deliver. And this is going to be great information for us to plan for the next application and all the addings that we're going to have on this one. So now we have information and we are going to use for the good for everybody in the system.
Talking about the future.
Talking about the future, yeah, we can all dream. Well, so I mean, any of us here would be illusion to think that we know exactly what's going to happen with blockchain and where it's going to take. I personally think, and that's why we're in this business, I think probably all of us, is that this is going to be life-changing. And the reason why we are here, the executive team of SIMBA, is that we think these are the examples that actually are going to change the world. This is truly revolutionary, right? So we use that word in technology all the time. This is actually really revolutionary. It's like people that had no power are getting a lot of power all of a sudden. And I want to give huge credit on that also, on the Toks folks, because they sort of been sitting in between. But the biggest beneficiaries of this is going to be, on one hand, the farmers, and on the other hand, the consumers, right?
You know, so one of the things, just to build on this, I think Rob has said the right thing, is that NFTs are so much more than digital art. I mean, what we're really talking about is digitalizing every asset, physical or digital, right? It could be cars, it could be airplane parts, it could be coffee beans, it could be anything, right? And we talk about this transformation, this big revolution as a Web 3. So if you think about Web 1, Web 2, and what those might mean, this is going to transform completely the way we use the internet, the way we think about computers, the way they manage our lives. And those smart contracts remove a lot of middlemen and middlewomen out of our lives and create trustless, in that case, really trusted environments in which we can operate.
Thank you for watching this interview with SIMBA Chain and Grupo Restaurantero Gigante. Thank you, Gustavo. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Rob. It was glad to have you here in Expo News.